If you're over 60, there's something about your kidneys you should never take for granted. You don't feel them working, you don't hear them working, and most of the time, you don't even think about them. Yet every single day, your kidneys are constantly filtering your blood, helping remove waste, balancing fluids and electrolytes, and producing urine that carries waste out of your body. And here's where things get interesting. A lot of people hear the words kidney detox and immediately think they need an expensive powder, a cleansing tea, or some special supplement. But what if the most important thing you can do starts with something much simpler, what you drink? Not because one magical drink can scrub your kidneys clean overnight. It can't. Your kidneys already have a remarkable filtration system. But the right drinks can help support adequate hydration and give your body the fluid it needs for normal kidney function. And some traditional drinks have been around for centuries. Long before modern detox products filled store shelves, people were drinking simple beverages made from fruits, grains, herbs, seeds, and natural ingredients. Some of these drinks are still worth paying attention to today, and one of them is so ordinary you may already have it in your kitchen. Another has been associated with ancient biblical traditions, and one popular detox drink you may have been using could actually be something you need to think twice about. So today, we're counting down 15 biblical and biblical-inspired drinks that can fit into a kidney-friendly, hydration-focused lifestyle. But stay with me until the end, because number 7 is one of the simplest drinks on this entire list, while number 1 may completely change the way you think about kidney cleansing. Let's begin with one of the most basic drinks of all. Number 15, water with a little lemon. Let's start with something that doesn't need a fancy label. Water with lemon. It sounds almost too simple, but that's exactly why it's worth talking about. Water provides the fluid your body needs to make urine, and staying adequately hydrated helps your kidneys perform their normal job of filtering the blood and removing waste through urine. Adding lemon doesn't magically detoxify your kidneys. That's an important distinction. But lemon can make plain water more enjoyable, which can make it easier for some people to drink enough throughout the day. And there's another interesting reason citrus gets attention when we're talking about kidney health. Citrus fruits contain citrate. Citrate is a naturally occurring substance that can bind with calcium in urine and may help reduce the tendency for certain types of kidney stones to form. That doesn't mean lemon water is a treatment for kidney stones, and it certainly doesn't mean you should drink enormous quantities of lemon juice. We're talking about a simple habit. A glass of water with some fresh lemon. That's it. You can drink it with breakfast, have it alongside lunch, or keep a bottle nearby during the day. But here's the mistake I don't want you to make. Don't turn lemon water into a sugary beverage. You don't need honey, syrup, or artificial sweeteners piled into every glass. If you enjoy lemon water plain, keep it simple. And if you've been told to restrict fluids because of a kidney or heart condition, your fluid needs may be different. That's why drink as much water as possible isn't good advice for everyone. The goal is appropriate hydration, not forcing enormous amounts of fluid. And our next drink takes that simple idea and adds something you probably recognize immediately. Number 14, pomegranate drink. The pomegranate has an interesting history. It appears in ancient traditions and has long been associated with abundance, health, and vitality. Today, we're interested in the fruit itself. Pomegranate contains naturally occurring plant compounds, including polyphenols, and that's why pomegranate juice has attracted so much attention. But let's be careful here. A glass of pomegranate juice is not a kidney detox treatment. It doesn't physically scrub toxins out of your kidneys. What it can do is provide fluid along with compounds naturally present in the fruit. And if you're choosing pomegranate juice, there's a major difference between a drink made primarily from the fruit and a sugary beverage that simply uses pomegranate flavoring. Read the label, look for a product with little or no added sugar. And remember, more isn't better. Juice concentrates calories and naturally occurring sugars because much of the whole fruit structure has been removed. So a modest serving is very different from drinking a huge bottle throughout the day. And here's a practical way to use it. Instead of thinking, I need pomegranate juice to detox my kidneys, think, I can occasionally use a small serving of pomegranate as part of an overall healthy diet. That's a much more realistic approach. And if you enjoy the whole fruit, that's another option. Because whole pomegranate gives you something juice doesn't provide in the same way, fiber. The bigger lesson is beginning to emerge. We're not searching for one miracle drink, we're building a better drinking pattern. And our next drink is even more interesting, because it comes from a food that has been used for thousands of years. Number 13, barley water. This one may sound old-fashioned, and that's exactly why I want you to hear about it. Barley water. Barley has a long history as a staple grain, including in the biblical world. It's been used in breads, porridges, and other traditional foods for generations. Barley water is made by cooking barley in water and then drinking the resulting liquid. But before you start thinking this is some ancient kidney cleansing potion, let's separate tradition from evidence. There is no need to believe that barley water literally washes toxins out of your kidneys. The kidneys already handle waste removal. The potential value here is much simpler. It's a way of consuming fluid, and barley itself contains nutrients and fiber when you eat the whole grain. And that distinction matters. If you're drinking strained barley water, you're not getting everything you would get from eating the whole cooked grain. So don't treat barley water as a replacement for a nutritious meal. Instead, think of it as a traditional beverage that can fit into a broader dietary pattern. And if you want the nutritional benefits of barley itself, eating cooked barley as part of a meal may actually make more sense. Add it to soup, serve it alongside vegetables, mix it with beans, or use it as a whole grain base for a meal. The drink may be interesting, but the whole food is where much of the nutrition lives. And that's something you're going to notice repeatedly throughout this list. Traditional wisdom often used the whole ingredient, not just a concentrated extract. And now we're moving toward a drink that's incredibly refreshing, especially during warm weather. Number 12, cucumber and mint water. This one isn't a traditional biblical recipe in the strict sense, but it uses two simple ingredients that fit naturally into an ancient food-inspired approach: cucumber and mint. Take a pitcher of water, add sliced cucumber, add a few fresh mint leaves. Let it sit for a while, then drink. That's it. No powder, no detox capsule, no complicated recipe. And here's why I like this drink for older adults. Sometimes the biggest barrier to hydration isn't that someone doesn't understand the importance of fluids. It's that plain water gets boring. So people drink less. Infusing water with cucumber and mint can make it more appealing without turning it into a sugary drink. And cucumber contributes water because it's naturally high in moisture. Mint adds flavor and freshness. But again, don't give the drink powers it doesn't have. Cucumber mint water doesn't pull toxins from your kidneys. It doesn't cleanse your bloodstream. It simply gives you a more enjoyable way to drink water. And sometimes, the simplest strategy is the one that actually works. Make a pitcher in the morning. Keep it refrigerated. Pour a glass with lunch. Have another later in the day. That's a habit you can repeat. And repeatable habits are far more valuable than dramatic detox routines that last 3 days. But our next drink takes us into a completely different category. It has been used traditionally for digestion, and its flavor is instantly recognizable. Number 11, ginger water. Ginger has been used in traditional food cultures for centuries. You can make a simple ginger drink by steeping fresh ginger in hot water. Some people enjoy it warm. Others let it cool and drink it over ice. And ginger is especially interesting because it brings flavor without requiring sugar. But again, let's keep the claim realistic. Ginger water isn't a kidney cleanser. It's not going to scrape toxins from your kidneys. Its value is that it can be part of a healthy beverage routine while providing compounds naturally found in ginger. And for someone trying to reduce sugary drinks, that's important. Think about what happens when you replace a sweetened soda with unsweetened ginger water. You're not just adding ginger, you're also removing a source of added sugar. That's a much more meaningful dietary change, and you can make it very simple. Slice a small amount of fresh ginger, add it to hot water, let it steep, then remove the pieces, or leave them in, depending on your preference. You can add a little lemon for flavor, but don't turn it into a giant honey drink. The more sugar you add, the further you move away from the original purpose. And if ginger tends to bother your stomach, or you're taking medications and have concerns about concentrated ginger products, it's sensible to check with your healthcare professional. Food amounts and concentrated supplements aren't always the same thing. Now we're halfway toward a drink that has a fascinating biblical connection. And this next one may surprise you, because most people think of it as a breakfast food, not a beverage. Number 10, grape drink. Grapes are one of the most recognizable fruits associated with the biblical world. They're mentioned repeatedly in Scripture and were an important part of ancient agriculture. And today, grapes are still one of the easiest fruits to turn into a drink. But there's a major difference between whole grapes, unsweetened grape juice, and modern grape-flavored beverages. They are not interchangeable. Whole grapes contain water, fiber, and naturally occurring plant compounds. Grape juice contains many of the fruit's compounds, but it has much less fiber and can be easy to consume in large quantities. And grape-flavored drinks may contain relatively little actual grape. So if you're choosing grape juice, check what you're actually buying. And here's another important point. You don't need a giant glass. A small serving can be enough. Or better yet, eat the grapes themselves and drink water alongside them. That's a recurring theme in this video. Don't let the word drink convince you that liquid is automatically better than whole food. Sometimes the whole fruit is the better package. And that matters especially after 60, when overall nutrition becomes more important than chasing one isolated ingredient. You want fiber. You want protein. You want a variety of fruits and vegetables. You want appropriate fluids. You want meals you can actually maintain, not a 3-day cleanse. And we're only at number 10. The remaining drinks are where the list gets much more interesting. Because we're about to move into traditional herbal beverages, seed-based drinks, and one simple drink that may deserve a permanent place in your daily routine. And if you're wondering which drink is the most important of all, don't skip ahead. Because the answer isn't the exotic one, it's the one most people already have access to. Number 9, fig-infused water. Figs show up again and again in biblical passages, often as a symbol of nourishment and abundance. And beyond the symbolism, figs were simply a practical everyday food in the ancient world. Dried figs kept well, they traveled well, and they were easy to add to almost anything, including water. To make fig-infused water, you soak a few dried figs in a jar of water, usually overnight in the refrigerator. By morning, the water has picked up a light natural sweetness, and you're left with softened figs you can eat afterward. So really, this is 2 foods in one, a mildly flavored water, and a whole food snack once you're done. Now, let's be honest about what this drink is and isn't. It isn't a kidney flush. Soaking figs in water doesn't transfer some special detoxifying property into the liquid. What you're actually getting is a pleasant-tasting way to drink more water, plus a small amount of fiber and nutrients from the figs themselves if you eat them afterward. That's a reasonable trade for 5 minutes of prep the night before. One caution though, dried fruit is more concentrated in natural sugar than fresh fruit. If you're watching your blood sugar, or you've been told to limit certain sugars, a couple of figs is very different from a handful. Portion matters here, just like it does everywhere else on this list. And this is a good moment to notice something about the drinks we've covered so far. None of them require you to buy anything unusual. Lemons, pomegranates, barley, cucumbers, mint, ginger, grapes, figs. These are foods your grandparents probably recognized on sight. That's not a coincidence. The next drink continues that same pattern, and it's built around one of the most humble ingredients on this entire list. Number 8, raisin water. If figs are the more well-known biblical fruit, raisins, dried grapes, are their quieter cousin. Raisin water is made almost exactly like fig water. A small handful of raisins, soaked overnight in a glass or jar of water, left in the refrigerator until morning. Some people simply drink the water. Others eat the softened raisins along with it. Either way, you end up with a naturally flavored beverage that didn't require a single ounce of added sugar. Now here's an interesting historical note. Long before refrigeration and food preservatives, drying fruit was one of the main ways people stored nutrition for the months ahead. Raisins were portable, shelf-stable, and calorie-dense, genuinely useful in a world without supermarkets. Today, our situation is different. Most of us aren't relying on dried fruit to survive the winter. So the question becomes, how does raisin water fit into a modern routine? The honest answer is, it's a pleasant variation, not a necessity. It gives you a lightly sweetened alternative to plain water without needing packaged juice or soda. That's genuinely useful if you're trying to cut back on sugary drinks. But just like fig water, portion control matters. A small handful of raisins is a flavoring agent, not a serving of fruit you should repeat 3 or 4 times a day. And if you have diabetes or you're monitoring carbohydrates closely, it's worth discussing dried fruit beverages with your doctor or dietitian rather than assuming natural automatically means unlimited. Now we're arriving at the drink I promised you earlier. The one I said was one of the simplest on this entire list, and it might be the most surprising entry so far, not because it's exotic, but because of exactly the opposite. Number 7, hyssop tea. Hyssop is mentioned several times throughout Scripture, often in a ceremonial or purifying context. That symbolism is part of why it earns a spot on this list. But let's set the symbolism aside for a moment and talk about the plant itself. Hyssop is an herb related to mint with a slightly bitter, aromatic flavor. Traditionally, people have steeped hyssop leaves in hot water to make a simple herbal tea, and that's really the entire recipe. A small amount of dried or fresh hyssop, hot water, a few minutes of steeping. No sweetener required, though a little honey or lemon is common. Here's why I called this one of the simplest drinks on the list. There's no juicing, no soaking overnight, no chopping multiple ingredients. It's about as close to just add hot water as a traditional herbal drink gets. But simplicity in preparation doesn't mean I want you to overstate what it does. Hyssop tea is not a documented treatment for kidney disease, and it isn't a substitute for medical care if you have a diagnosed kidney condition. What it can offer is a caffeine-free hot beverage option, which matters more than people realize. If you're currently getting most of your fluids from coffee or caffeinated tea, adding a caffeine-free herbal option to your rotation is a small, sensible shift, particularly if caffeine tends to affect your sleep or your blood pressure. One practical note: herbal teas vary quite a bit in strength and in how different people's bodies respond to them. If you're on multiple medications, it's worth mentioning any new herbal tea you drink regularly to your pharmacist or doctor, simply so it can be checked against your prescriptions. That's not a reason to avoid it. It's just good practice at any age, and especially useful information to have after 60. Now let's move into a stretch of the list where things get a little more deliberate: herbal drinks that have specific traditional uses tied to fluid balance. Number 6. Alive leaf tea. The olive tree carries enormous symbolic weight throughout the Bible, representing peace, provision, and endurance. Olive oil gets most of the modern attention, but the leaves of the olive tree have their own long history as a brewed tea in traditional Mediterranean practices. Olive leaf tea is made by steeping dried olive leaves in hot water. Similar to any other herbal tea, it has an earthy, slightly bitter taste. Some people enjoy it on its own, while others prefer it lightly sweetened. Olive leaves contain naturally occurring plant compounds that have been studied in various contexts, including cardiovascular health. But I want to be very clear about something. Any research on olive leaf extract usually involves concentrated extracts, not a cup of steeped tea, and the findings are preliminary rather than settled medical fact. Drinking olive leaf tea is not equivalent to taking a measured supplement, and it is absolutely not a treatment for kidney disease, high blood pressure, or any other diagnosed condition. So why include it here at all? Because as a simple low-sugar, caffeine-free hot beverage, it's a reasonable option to rotate into your week. Nothing more dramatic than that. If you're on blood pressure medication, this is one of those herbal drinks worth flagging to your doctor, simply because some plant compounds can interact with how the body handles blood pressure regulation. Again, not a reason for alarm, just a reason for a quick conversation. And that theme is going to come up again as we move into the next few entries, because we're about to reach some of the most well-known detox tea ingredients on the market, and a couple of important cautions that go along with them. Number 5. Dandelion tea. If you've spent any time near the detox or clean section of a health food store, you've probably seen dandelion tea. It's one of the most commonly marketed herbal teas for supporting kidney and liver health. And dandelion does have a long history of traditional use, including in cultures with biblical-era herbal practices, where bitter greens were commonly eaten and brewed. Dandelion leaf, in particular, is a natural diuretic, meaning it can increase how much urine your body produces. That's the actual mechanism behind most of the detox marketing you see. More urine feels like flushing. But here's the important distinction. Producing more urine is not the same thing as removing more toxins. Your kidneys already determine what needs to be filtered out and what your body should keep. Simply urinating more frequently doesn't force out substances your kidneys have decided to retain, and it can, in some cases, affect your fluid and electrolyte balance if overdone. This is exactly why I want to slow down here, rather than just add dandelion tea to the list and move on. If you take diuretic medications, often prescribed for high blood pressure or heart conditions, adding an herbal diuretic on top of that can compound the effect in ways your doctor should know about. If you have kidney disease, a diuretic herb is something you should discuss with your nephrologist before using regularly, not something to start on your own because a label says detox. And if you're generally healthy, with no diuretic medications and no diagnosed kidney condition, an occasional cup of dandelion tea is unlikely to cause harm for most people. But occasional is doing real work in that sentence. It's not a green light to several times a day indefinitely. The lesson here is bigger than dandelion tea itself. Natural and traditional don't automatically mean risk-free at any dose. That's especially true for anything that changes how much you urinate. And our next drink carries a very similar caution, wrapped in a much more familiar flavor. Number 4. Unsweetened cranberry water. Cranberry has a long-standing folk reputation for supporting urinary tract health, and that reputation has made its way into a lot of kidney cleanse marketing as well. To be fair, cranberries do contain compounds that have been studied for their potential role in reducing bacteria's ability to stick to the walls of the urinary tract, which is a plausible mechanism for supporting urinary tract health specifically. But there's an important gap between urinary tract and kidneys. These are related, but different parts of your body, and cranberry's traditional use is really centered on the bladder and urinary tract, not on kidney filtration itself. So let's be precise about what unsweetened cranberry water can reasonably offer. It's a low-sugar way to add fluid and flavor variety to your day, and it may be worth discussing with your doctor if you have a history of recurrent urinary tract issues. What it is not is a proven kidney detox drink, and it's definitely not the sugar-loaded cranberry cocktail in most grocery store bottles. That distinction matters enormously. Most commercial cranberry juice on store shelves is a blend that's mostly water, sugar, and a small percentage of actual cranberry juice. If you're reaching for cranberry as a health habit, you want unsweetened cranberry juice, diluted with water if the tartness is too much. Not a sugary cranberry cocktail that undoes any potential benefit with added sugar. And one more caution worth mentioning. Cranberry products, especially concentrated capsules, can interact with certain blood-thinning medications. If you take a blood thinner, that's a conversation to have with your doctor before making cranberry a daily habit. Food level amounts are generally a smaller concern than concentrated supplements, but it's still worth flagging. This is turning into a pattern, isn't it? Nearly every genuinely useful drink on this list comes with the same underlying advice. Keep it food-based, keep it unsweetened, keep portions modest, and mention new habits to your doctor if you're on medication. That's not exciting advice, but it's honest advice, and it's about to matter even more as we move into two of the most talked about kidney detox herbs on the entire internet. Number 3, parsley tea. Parsley tea might be the single most famous kidney flush drink circulating online. Type kidney detox drink into any search engine, and parsley tea will show up again and again, often with dramatic before and after claims attached to it. So let's talk about it honestly, because this is exactly the kind of drink that deserves a closer look rather than blind trust. Parsley, like dandelion, has a mild diuretic effect for some people. That's the basis for most of the flush claims. The same increased urination equals detox logic we already discussed at number 5, and the same caution applies here, possibly even more strongly. Here's something important that often gets left out of the enthusiastic drink parsley tea for your kidneys videos. Parsley is relatively high in oxalates, naturally occurring compounds that in susceptible people can contribute to the formation of certain types of kidney stones. For most healthy people drinking parsley tea occasionally, this isn't a significant concern. But if you have a history of kidney stones, particularly calcium oxalate stones, or if you have any form of diagnosed kidney disease, parsley tea is not automatically the safe, gentle cleanse it's marketed as. It's exactly the kind of drink you should run past your doctor first, not after you've already been drinking it daily for a month. This is a good moment to say something directly. If you have an existing kidney condition of any kind, reduced kidney function, kidney stones, or you're managing kidney disease with a nephrologist, please don't take a home remedy list on the internet, including this one, as medical guidance for your specific situation. General food and hydration information is not the same as tailored your labs, your medications, and your diagnosis. Your care team has information about you that no video can have. With that said, for someone without a kidney condition, an occasional cup of parsley tea made simply by steeping fresh or dried parsley in hot water is unlikely to cause harm. It's the daily aggressive flush approach, treating it like a medicine rather than an occasional herbal drink, that turns a low-risk habit into something worth questioning. And our next drink follows almost the exact same pattern, which is why I've grouped these two together. Number 2, nettle leaf tea. Nettle, often called stinging nettle, is another herb with a long traditional history. Used across many cultures, including regions tied to biblical-era herbal practice, where wild greens and bitter herbs were a normal part of the diet. Once the leaves are dried and steeped in hot water, the sting is gone, and what's left is a mild, slightly earthy tea. Like dandelion and parsley, nettle leaf has diuretic properties for some people, and it shows up constantly in kidney cleanse product marketing for that exact reason. By now, you can probably guess what I'm going to say next. Increased urination is not the same thing as kidney detoxification. Your kidneys are already doing that job continuously, whether or not you drink an herbal tea. Nettle tea's actual, more grounded traditional use has more to do with general hydration and as a caffeine-free beverage option than as any kind of proven kidney treatment. And the same medication cautions apply here as with dandelion. If you're on diuretic medication, blood pressure medication, or blood-thinning medication, nettle leaf tea is worth mentioning to your doctor before making it a daily habit, simply because combining herbal diuretics with prescribed medications is something your doctor should have visibility into. This isn't meant to scare you away from nettle tea. Plenty of people drink it occasionally without any issue at all. It's meant to correct a specific common misunderstanding, the idea that because a drink is herbal and makes you urinate more, it must be cleansing your kidneys. That idea is exactly what a lot of detox marketing is built on, and it's exactly the idea I wanted this list to push back against. And now, we've arrived at number 1. The drink I told you at the very beginning might completely change how you think about kidney cleansing, and true to what I promised, it isn't exotic at all. Number 1, plain water. After counting down 14 other drinks, some biblical inspired, some backed by real, if modest, evidence, and a few that needed real caution attached to them, we land back on the most ordinary drink there is. Plain water. No lemon, no herbs, no fruit, just water. And here's why that's actually the most important entry on this entire list, not the least important. Every single drink we've discussed so far works, to whatever modest degree it works, because it delivers fluid to your body. The lemon, the cucumber, the mint, the herbs, their flavor and variety layered on top of the one ingredient that actually matters most for supporting normal kidney function: water itself. Your kidneys need adequate fluid intake to do their job well, filtering waste, balancing electrolytes, and producing urine. When you're consistently underhydrated, your body has to work harder to manage that balance, and your urine becomes more concentrated. Over the long term, chronic underhydration is a much bigger everyday concern for many older adults than the absence of any exotic detox tea. And this is where I want to gently push back on the entire premise of kidney cleanse marketing. There is no drink on this list, or anywhere else, that will flush toxins out of a healthy kidney beyond what the kidney already does on its own, every hour of every day. There's also no drink that will repair significant kidney damage or replace medical treatment for diagnosed kidney disease. What every genuinely useful drink on this list actually offers is much simpler and much less dramatic. A pleasant, low-sugar way to help you get enough fluid consistently, day after day. That's it. That's the whole secret. Not a miracle ingredient, not a biblical herb with hidden power. Just consistent, adequate hydration. Achieved, however, makes it easiest for you to actually do it every single day. For some people, that's plain water. For others, it's water with a slice of lemon or a pitcher of cucumber mint water sitting in the refrigerator. For someone managing a kidney condition, appropriate fluid intake may look completely different. And that's a conversation for their doctor, not for a countdown video. So if you take away only one thing from everything we've covered today, let it be this. Stop searching for the one exotic drink that will detox your kidneys overnight. Start building a boring, repeatable, sustainable hydration habit instead, with plain water as the foundation, and any of these 14 other drinks as pleasant variety layered on top. That's not as exciting as a miracle cleanse, but it's honest. And after 60, honest, sustainable habits are worth far more than dramatic promises that don't hold up. If you found this helpful, and you'd like more straightforward, myth-busting health information without the exaggerated claims, consider subscribing. And let me know in the comments, which of these 15 drinks are you already using? Or which one surprised you the most? Because sometimes the most useful health habit isn't the newest one. It's the simplest one that you can actually keep doing. This video is for general educational purposes only and is not medical advice. If you have kidney disease, take diuretic or blood-thinning medications, or have any other health condition, please talk with your doctor or a registered dietitian before changing your diet or fluid intake.